Okay, hello my friends. Welcome to a much always anticipated video. My 2022 favorites, late as probably could be anticipated, but I'm so excited to talk about these products here. I think I have a pretty good mix of older products that I used a lot this year and then newer products that either released this year or that I discovered this year. Let's just get into it. I also feel like I'm trying not to repeat too much. All of the products that I've talked about in past yearly favorites are still favorites. I still love them all, but I really want to focus on like the products that really I feel like represented this year. For example, like my NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer is always a favorite, but I don't feel like I really need to talk about that because I use it like every time I do my makeup. You know what I mean? But let's just get into it. I have a lot to talk about, so, I'm just gonna start. So, I'm gonna try not to ramble too much. Also, this lash is, my lashes are not even, of course, for my yearly favorites video, but you know what? You win some, you lose some. Okay, so, for priming products, my number one primer love and discovery this year is so old and dingy. I've cut the top off. I've completely used it up. The Wet n Wild Glass Correct Primer. I love this stuff so much and so much more than I thought that I would. It's so beautiful and dewy and hydrating and glowy, but not in a greasy way or an overly obnoxious way. I have really oily skin and I love this. I really want to try the green one. This is not technically meant for my skin tone, but when I went to the store, they only had the yellow version in stock, so this is where I landed, but I love it. It makes every foundation that I put on top of this look beautiful, but it doesn't affect the wear time. It's just chef's kiss in every single way. Another priming product that's a newer discovery, but that I've been really loving is the Maybelline Instant Age Rewind Perfector 4-in-1 Glow Makeup. I have the shade Fair Light 00. I know that this has received kind of mixed reviews, but I think this is really great. I think it provides a really nice dewy, hydrated finish without being greasy, without being oily. Doesn't affect the wear time of my makeup. I really like the subtle glow it gives the base products I put on top of it, and it's just great. I feel like there's not that much product in here. I feel like I'm going through it quite quickly, but it is what it is. I also love the way that this looks without any makeup. I think it doesn't look sparkly, it doesn't look glittery, it just looks beautiful and hydrated, and it's so nice. And then the Summer Fridays Lip Butter Balm. This is the tinted version, but I have been loving this. It's luxurious in every single way. It's aesthetic. It's glossy, but not too glossy that it looks weird if you aren't wearing other makeup. It smells beautiful. It's hydrating. It lasts a really long time. I'm obsessed with it. If you're gonna pay $30 for a lip balm, it really checks every single box, and I feel like the hype for this product is super deserved. I found some amazing base products this year, truly obsessed with them. First being, this was I think from the beginning of the year, the Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation and concealer. I have the shade 00A Porcelain. Oh, the way I love this foundation. It's a medium to full buildable coverage, but honestly the finish is so nice. It's a beautiful natural skin-like finish, not dewy, not matte, but the lasting power of this foundation is beautiful. It lasts so well throughout the day. It doesn't break up. It doesn't get oily. It doesn't it lasts so well. If I wear this, I know I don't have to worry about it, and it's so nice. I honestly feel like I will never be without a bottle of this from now on in my collection. And then the Covergirl Trublend Matte Made Foundation. I have the shade L10. It looks grimy because I've been using it nonstop. I've used up so much of this and I've not had it for that long. It's what I'm wearing on my face today. It's again like just a go-to trustworthy foundation for me. It's not quite as thick or full coverage as the Milani one, but it can definitely be built up. And similarly, it wears beautifully. Like, you wouldn't, I feel like, with a foundation like this, expect it to wear the way it does because it's not super matte, you know? It's like not super full coverage, but it just lasts. Like, it just wears well. I don't have to worry about this breaking up, fading, getting super shiny. It's just like such a reliable workhorse foundation for me, and I just love it. I also fell in love with this Maybelline Superstay Activewear Concealer this year. For reference, I have the shade 05. I just think it's a really nice concealer that's lightweight. Like, it's very thin, but still does what you need a concealer to do. And I really love the combination of this with the Superstay foundation. I think it's great. I think they complement each other really well, but it's not like super thick like the foundation is. And yeah, it's expensive though. It's like $17 full price, which is honestly ridiculous. That's almost a high-end concealer, but it doesn't have the most incredible coverage ever, but in some ways that could be nice if you don't like a super intense concealer, but it doesn't, again, like break up. It wears really well. So I don't know, I think this is really nice. I can't remember if it was this year. I think it was this year. I also fell in love with the Covergirl. I'll put it on the screen and down in the description box, but the Covergirl like Trublend concealer or something. It's like in the white and black bottle. That I think I'm gonna repurchase after I finish this concealer that I'm working on now, because truly it feels like a high-end concealer. It has a beautiful coverage, such a beautiful finish, and it wears beautifully as well. It honestly performs like a $40 concealer in my opinion. I think it is phenomenal. Don't have it in my collection right now, but so good. Would highly recommend. For other base products, I also fell in love with the Sephora collection Microsmooth Multitasking Baked Face Powder. I think it's just a really good, like, again, reliable, no frills base powder that's not powdery, is really smooth. It doesn't have a ton of pigment, so I don't feel it like that it like overpowers my cream products that I have on underneath it. It doesn't get gunky. It doesn't make, like, it keeps my oils at bay. It does what you want a powder to do. It's not super expensive. I mean, it's a pressed powder, it's a baked powder, so there's like lots of product in here, and I don't know, I'm a big fan. If you're looking for a relatively like mid-range affordable pressed powder, and I would highly recommend this, and I feel like even if you have dry skin, this could be a good powder for you as well, because it's very lightweight. But obviously I don't have dry skin, so I don't fully know. But anyway, two contouring products that I fell in love with this year. This Fenty Beauty Matchstick in Amber. I've used it all the way up. I guess I could try to scrape out this little bit of product, which I may do, but this is an old, obviously, product that I fell head over heels in love with this year. The tone is perfect. Maybe a little bit gray for some, but for me, it's the perfect contour shade. It is so beautiful. It blends like a dream. It has a great, like, basically matte kind of like finish. It's not super sheeny or anything. It lasted me a really long time. It like wears beautifully. It's just such a beautiful contour product, and I honestly will buy this again when I'm finished this contour product that I'm using now, which is also a favorite. Not quite as much of a passionate favorite as the Fenty Beauty one, but I think that the NYX Wonder Stick is a good, like, affordable-ish contouring product. It at least fills a niche, I think, in the drugstore kind of like market that has been like that it has been a little bit missing. I have the shade Fair, but their shade range is actually quite good, and you can see it's not quite as neutral, like it has a little bit more red to it than Amber, but I think it is still like a really good contour product. I think the formula is good. Again, it's not super sheeny, which I think is good for a contour product. It blends beautifully, it doesn't get patchy, it's like really easy to work with. It has a highlight side, which I don't love. I don't think it's like bad, but I'm also not really like a cream highlight person, and it's quite gold, but I don't know. I think it's a really good like drugstore option, so this has been good, although it is still a little bit expensive. It's like 20 Canadian dollars, which is quite a lot. And then, speaking of bronzing products, the e.l.f. Putty Bronzer has been a favorite. This is the second one that I've bought this year. I've used one full one up, and I know that not everyone is a huge fan of the Putty products from e.l.f., but I just think this is such a great cream bronzer, again with a good shade range that's affordable. I really, really like it. I think the color is nice. It's not too orange, not too red. I have the shade Tan Lines for reference. It goes onto your skin really well. I don't think it breaks up any of the product underneath. It works with pretty much every single base product that I've tried it on, and I just really like it. I think it's a really, really solid, affordable like cream bronzer, and even like regardless of price, I think it's just a solid cream bronzer. Like it's just good, not even necessarily like good for the price, you know? Moving on to other cheek products, let's do highlighter before we get into blush, because this has truly been the year of the blush for me. I've rediscovered in my collection ColourPop Flexitarian this year. I have gotten a ton of use out of it. I think it's just a really nice neutral highlight that works with like everything. It's beautiful, it's bright, and I love it. I've been loving it, and it was definitely a favorite for 2022 for me. A highlight that I bought at the very beginning of 2022, Fenty Beauty Kilowatt Freestyle Highlighter in the shade Chills. I had wanted this for so long. I got this on a really good deal, I think in January, and it's just the perfect highlight for when I do blue or purple looks. It's a like icy blue highlight that is a little bit sparkly, but that's what I love about it, but it's still sheer, so it doesn't look overly blue on your cheeks. And I reached for this. I have reached for this for most of the year. Anytime I do a blue look, it's just what I immediately gravitate towards. However, once I purchased this, I kind of have been using this non-stop, the Blend Bunny Noctilucent Highlighting Palette. I adore this. I've used it so much in the past couple months. I think it's just a dream highlighter formula. It's colorful, sparkly highlight with like just the perfect amount of sheerness and sparkle. It looks wet on your cheeks, and the color is like, it looks wet on your cheeks. They're beautifully sheer, so I think no matter what skin tone you are, it's not going to look white or too dark. And for that reason as well, it's not like overwhelming in terms of color. It's just kind of like when you turn your head. And I just think if you're looking for colorful highlighters, look no further, because to me, this is like a highlight formula perfected. I adore this. I adore it. And then this is very, very new, so I want to give this kind of just an honorable mention because it's so, so new. But the Michaela and Glamlite highlight has been a dream. I bought this in my Glamlite order that I made on Black Friday, and it is a beautiful like light champagne highlight, but it's so shiny and gorgeous. I love it. You have to like obviously an intense highlighter, but I really, really like this formula. It's really smooth. It's not too dark for me, which I really love, and it's super bright, and I've been loving this. So obviously I've only been using this for a short time. I can't really say that this is like a 2022 favorite, but it's so, so good. I've used it a lot in the short time that I've had it. Now let's get into blush products. This has truly been the year of blush for me, and it's been the year of cream blush for me. I kind of dove headfirst into cream blush this year and have not looked back, and I've found a lot of cream blushes that I just love. Starting out with, let's see, Merit Flush Balm in the color Cheeky. I could see myself panning this blush so easily. I love the color of it. I feel like it's such kind of like a unique rosy color that on me almost leans berry, and it's such a beautiful like buildable lush formula that makes you look hydrated and a little bit glossy, but not in a sticky way. And I just have reached for this so much, and I really want to try other shades from this Merit line, but this has really surprised me in a big way and kind of opened up like cream blush as a product category for me. It also wouldn't be a 2022 favorites without talking about the Fenty Cream Cheeks Out Freestyle Cream Blush in the shade Rosé Latte. I've reached for this endless amounts, especially when I've been doing green and blue looks. It's like a warm rosy brown. Ugh, it's so good. Kind of has like a sunburnt almost effect on me in like the best way. And I think that these Fenty cream blushes are a really, really beautiful like mid-range formula, in that they're not necessarily like a matte, like a cream to powder formula, but they're not overly glossy or dewy, and they just like wear beautifully on your cheeks. I love the finish of them. I love the way they apply, and I really also want more shades of this as well. Tower 28. I know that these blushes are super hyped up, and I did absolutely detest the like bronzer version of whatever this product is. Like, hated it with a burning fiery passion, but the blushes I adore. This is the Beach Please Luminous Tinted Balm in the shade Magic Hour, and it's like the most perfect rosy. It's like a rosy shade with a little bit of brown to it, and I've been reaching for it nonstop. Again, it's kind of like a thicker consistency, which is very tactily, is that a word? Tactily pleasing, like tactily satisfying to touch and apply with your fingers. And again, it's a little bit more dewy than like the Fenty one, but I don't find that it gets greasy or breaks up any of like the product underneath. And I, again, really want more shades of this. It also is like pretty pigmented for how kind of like hydrating it is, so you don't need a ton of product, and I love it. I love it a lot. I also have loved the LYS Higher Standard Satin Matte Cream Blush. I have the shade Kindness, but this is also one that I want like all the shades in. This is kind of like a peachy shade, but this, if you don't love like dewy cream blushes, this is beautiful. It is like not a cream to powder necessarily. Excuse my washing machine. It's not a cream to powder, but it definitely has like a more matte finish, so it's not going to be super dewy or emollient on your cheeks if that's not something that you love. And I feel like the pigment is beautiful. It builds beautifully. Again, it just applies like a dream, and I know that this formula is a ton of people's favorites for really good reason. And then the Milk Makeup, I feel like I haven't used this as much as the others, but I've been super impressed with the formula. And again, I want more shades. This is just the Lip and Cheek. This is the shade Flip, which is like, it says that it's a true red, but to me this is more of like, it blends out as like a bright kind of fuchsia pink, which I don't mind at all. But again, I feel like similar almost to the Fenty in that it applies really well, it builds really well, but it's not super dewy or emollient. It doesn't, like, it kind of just has like a nice satiny finish, so it's a lot more approachable, I think, than some of like the dewier cream blushes that are out there, that if you have more of an oily skin type are gonna be maybe a little bit more intimidating to use. But this is just like a really beautiful, workable product. It builds beautifully, it wears beautifully, but it also shears out really nicely as well. So I think it's really like easy to manipulate, and I adore it. Oh my god, truly it's been the year of blush. I've also been loving this Milani cream blush. This is the Cheek Kiss cream blush in the shade Nude Kiss. I don't really, it's like another kind of rosy shade, but I think that this is a really beautiful drugstore cream blush. It reminds me a little bit of the Merit blush formula, actually. It's a little bit more emollient, but I don't feel like it breaks up anything. It builds well, and it powders down nicely as well. It wears well, and I don't know. I've heard some people say that this fades, but I haven't personally found that, and I just think it's a really, really solid cream blush product from the drugstore. This is more of like a color favorite, the NARS Air Matte Blush in the shade Rush. It's not necessarily like my favorite ever blush formula, but the color of this is just divine. In the fall, I was reaching for this all the time. I find it a little bit difficult to use just because it is quite moussey and quite matte. So it can be a little bit tricky to apply, but the burnt like orange pumpkin color of this is so nice. I love using this on my cheeks and lips, and yeah, more so the color is what made me reach for this a ton. So if you know of any other blush formula or blushes in this that have a similar color to this, please let me know. And the Melt Blush Lights I have discovered and loved this year. The first shade that I got was the shade Honey Thief. I use this a lot in the summer. It's like a nice little corally, milky kind of coral shade. Again, not super like dewy, which I kind of really have come to appreciate in a cream blush. Blends beautifully. Like, I love the pigmentation and blendability of these blushes, and that led me to actually pick up 2 more blushes in the Melt sale for Black Friday. I got the shade Daydreamer, which is the most beautiful like wine kind of like burgundy shade. It's so nice. And the shade Sandy Cheeks, which is a beautiful orange. These I got more recently, so I haven't used them as extensively as Honey Thief, but I found the formula to be consistent across all of these, and I have been loving this formula as well. Now for some powder blushes. Another Melt product, the Digital Dust Highlight in the shade Phoenix. Just such a beautiful, technically a highlight, but I love this as like a glowy kind of blush topper product. It's a beautiful coppery shade, and I feel like it goes with so many blush looks, and it doesn't look overly shimmery or glowy. It just, I don't know, it just looks radiant and beautiful, and I have adored that. Also, I mean, I don't need to talk about this too much because this is always a favorite, but my Pat McGrath blush in Desert Orchid, it's divine. To me, it's like the perfect blush that was ever created. I use it all the time. I have to actively stop myself from reaching for this because I love this blush so much, and some people say it's overrated, but I don't know. I love it. Another new discovery this year is the e.l.f. Primer Infused Blush in the shade Always Rosy. To me, this performs like a $50 blush. It's such a beautiful formula. It's so smooth and blends like an absolute dream. I also love the shade. I just keep moving this. I love the shade. It's like a kind of burnt, kind of rosy shade. Adore, 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 adore. I feel like I want them to make more shades in this line because I want to buy them all. Like, I feel like I want a Made by Mitchell like shade range in that specific e.l.f. Primer Infused Blush formula. I've also, oddly, I feel like fallen in love with the e.l.f. just blush in the shade Bright Pink. I love a bright pink blush. And I just found myself reaching for this a lot. I think it's pigmented and blendable, and I really like the tone of it. It does fade a little bit, but it is also like a $3 blush or something. But I think if I saw other e.l.f. blush shades that I liked, I would pick them up because I've gotten along with this quite well. There's nothing super remarkable about it other than it's just like a nice kind of like solid blush. And this has really been the year of e.l.f. for me, I guess, because two of the e.l.f. bite-sized blush duos I've used a lot. This is the shade Lychee, which is like a brownie rose color. I feel like I've been gravitating more towards the matte side, but the shimmer side is nice as well. Sometimes I just use the matte, sometimes I mix them together, but they're just kind of like easy blush shades for me to wear that are a little bit more neutral. And this is the shade Spiced Apple, so I feel like they're just really easy options for me to reach for. And this is more of like a peachy kind of brown, but just super, super nice blushes that I've just reached for a lot. And again, I just find that they're really nice, simple, but not in a bad way. Like, they're not super, they don't have a ton of frills about them. They're inexpensive, but they just work. You don't have to think about using them. They just work. And then finally, the Melt Monarcha blush palette was a huge favorite for me, particularly in the beginning of the year. I love these blushes so much. I've reached for them non-stop, like all 6 of these I adore. Specifically the shade Sonrisa, I think it's so unique. It's such a beautiful like caramelly burnt orange shade. It's expensive and not necessarily like the most unique and innovative blush formula ever, but I love the tones. I love the shades in here. And again, like, they're not overly complicated, but they just work when you know, need to throw a blush on. I also kind of want to throw this in randomly. This is the Maybelline Brow Fast Sculpt Gel Mascara. I use the shade Soft Brown. I think this is such a good drugstore brow gel. It has incredible hold. Truly, it lasts all day if I'm just using this by itself through my brows, and I think it makes them a little bit crunchy, but like in a good way. It doesn't make them look crunchy, but they just have like a little bit of a stiffness to them so that you know they're gonna hold. It makes them thicker and fuller, but it just is like a really, really good brow gel. Like, I feel like it just does the things that you want a brow gel to do, and it's affordable, and I love it. I also want to give a little bit of a shout out to the Sephora Brush Tip Liquid Liner. This is the waterproof version. This is the second time that I've purchased this product, and I just really think it's a great eyeliner. You know, eyeliners to me are not that exciting. This part of my eye is not doing what I want it to do, but it lasts a really long time. It's matte. The brush tip is really nice. You can do precise work with it. It doesn't like crack or anything. It's just like a really good, not super expensive liquid liner. I also really like the Maybelline liquid liner from the drugstore. I think I went through 2 of those this year, but honestly, and I think that's a really good affordable option as well. I don't feel like it lasts me as long as the Sephora one, and I think I prefer the Sephora one, but that was also a good favorite of mine this year. And for mascara, the Essence Lash Princess False Lash Effect mascara I adore. I discovered that this year, and I really believe it's worth the hype. It lengthens, it volumizes, it doesn't smudge as far as I can remember or flake, and I just think it's such a beautiful, beautiful mascara that's affordable. And I don't have a tube of it with me right now, but I will definitely be repurchasing that in the future. And now to get onto lips, I have quite a number of lip products, so I'm just gonna go through them. I also been into lip liner this year in a major way, so I just wanted to shout out like my most kind of used ones. Obviously, Makeup Forever Endless Cacao is the GOAT for me. It is. If I could only have one lip liner, it would be this. I pretty much use it in some capacity every time I do my makeup. These Artist Color pencils have the best formula. They're not super creamy, but they aren't hard. Like, they're not super creamy, but they still are glidey enough where you can, you know, do all the things you need to do without tugging at your lips, but they're gonna last like forever on your lips, and I adore this one. It's the perfect cool toned contour shade. I could never be without that. A similar one in shade, but like maybe a tone and a half lighter, is the ColourPop Lippy Pencil in the shade Ashton. I'm not like head over heels in love with the ColourPop lip liner formula, but I think tonally I really, really love this shade, and I've been reaching for it a lot as well. I think it's again like a really beautiful cool toned like brown. The NYX lip liner in Nude Truffle is just, I wear it all the time. I mean, you can see how small it is. It's a really nice, just neutral brown, kind of like lightish mid-tone brown eyeliner that I reach for a ton. I also love the shade Espresso. I think it's a beautiful deep brown. Again, I love the NYX lip liner formula. Similar, not quite as good as the Makeup Forever one, but it's not super, super creamy, but glidey enough that you can, you know, line your lips. I also love the Suede Matte Lip Liner from NYX in the shade Sandstorm. This is kind of like my lip shade. So I really like to use this lip pencil to blend out other lip liners if I'm going to use like a clear gloss or just use like lip liners on my lips. This is just like my perfect kind of blending shade. And this is a little bit more matte than the other pencils, but nothing like super, super crazy in terms of matte. It's not like tonguey or anything. I don't know. These are kind of just like my most used lip liners. I'll swatch, I guess, Endless Cacao in reference, so it's a little bit deeper and a little bit more cool toned than Ashton. Okay, so let me shout out some lipsticks that I have been loving this year. These from Merit. These are the Signature Lip Lightweight Lipsticks. They did send these to me. I already swatched them. This is the shade 1990. It's like kind of a cool toned, mid-toned brown, and then Slip, which is a little bit of a lighter neutral brown. I really like this lip formula because it's not super opaque, so it's easy to throw on. It's easy to wear, and I really just think it's a really beautiful, like, easy lipstick. And I really like the packaging as well. I don't know. Obviously they're expensive, but I've been reaching for them a ton. And the e.l.f. on the opposite end of the price spectrum, the e.l.f. lipstick in the shade Créme has been kind of like my go-to nude-ish lipstick when I want something a little bit more pinky leaning, because it's quite light, and if I pair this with like Endless Cacao or Ashton, it kind of neutralizes it a little bit, so it's not so like light pink, and it's just kind of like a nude that's not super, super washed out, but has a little bit of a pink tinge to it, so I'm not like doing a brown lip with like a pink eye, you know what I mean? The formula itself of the lipstick is like fine. It's more the shade, but I've been reaching for this a lot this year as well. And Propa Beauty Luminous Satin Lipstick in Finesse is always a favorite, so I just thought I'd shout it out. Again, kind of like a really nice, easy lipstick to wear that I reach for a lot whenever I need like a just easy, non-offensive, like kind of mid-tone brown. And then let's dive into the glosses, because this has been, again, like the year of cream blush, the year of gloss for me. Another Merit product. This is, to me, the standout of the ones that I tried this year. This is their Shade Slick Tinted Lip Oil. This is the shade Taupe, and it's such a beautiful product. I can't even tell you the amount of times that I've reached for this. It's such a nice, just like a kind of rosy, oddly enough, like mid-tone brown, but it's not very pigmented at all. It's very light in color, and it just makes your lips look so juicy, but not in a way that's like you're wearing gloss. Like, it's not super glossy. It just makes your lips look hydrated and full, and obviously it's not long wearing, but it's easy to just throw on, and I wear this all the time on a daily basis. I've worn this for countless job interviews. It's a beautiful product. I love it so much. I would 100% pay $30 for this, because they did send that to me as well. Another favorite for this year that I actually am almost out of is the Tower 28 Shine On Lip Jelly in the shade Magic. I really like this gloss. It's not like the glossiest gloss ever, but it's really comfortable to wear. And it's shiny and just very hydrating. And just, I don't know, it's, again, just a gloss that like works. It's not sticky. It's really nice. And I want to get kind of like the milkier pink shade from the Tower 28 line. I have heard that these glosses go bad after a while. I've had this for about a year, and it still is working and smelling fine, but just keep that in mind. Two ColourPop glosses that I've been loving. This is the Luxe Gloss in the shade Glacier. This was in collaboration with Raw Beauty Christie, so I don't know if this is still available. I won't harp on this too much, but I really like how neutral it is. It's like a light, kind of like clear gloss with just basically like silver shimmer in it, but it's not, like if you think of Fenty Diamond Milk, for example, it's not quite as bright as that. It's just kind of like a neutral gloss, and I really love the tone of this. I'm not head over heels in love with the formula of the Luxe glosses from ColourPop. I find them a bit thick and a bit gloopy, but I have also found myself reaching for this a ton. Maybe I'll put this on now because I don't have gloss on. Also from ColourPop that I've been loving is the So Juicy gloss. This is the shade Lizzie from the Lizzie McGuire collection, but I think this is a really, truly juicy lip gloss. It's not, it's more of like a minty plumping sensation, but I think if I made another ColourPop order, I would get more of these glosses because they just make your lips look really juicy looking, wet, everything that you want a lip gloss to do. And I like I like this formula far more than the Luxe Gloss formula, I will say. Another plumping lip gloss that I have truly fell in love with is the Beauty Bay Plumping Lip Gloss. This is the shade Fizz. They have this shade in the clear one as well. This is kind of like just a beigey kind of shade. But this is, I've said it before, the most intense lip plumping gloss I've ever tried. It is amazing. Sometimes it gives me goosebumps with how plumping it is. So if you don't like plumping glosses, do not buy this. But if you do like plumping glosses, get your hands on this because it is divine. And I wish that they would come out with more shades. Oh, also the Fenty Heat from Fenty lip gloss in the shade Fenty Glow Heat. Again, divine. It is a little bit more neutral, not quite as orangey as like the original Fenty Glow shade, which I love, but it again makes your lips look so beautiful, so juicy, and just a beautiful plumping sensation. And again, I want more shades of these, but Fenty really always hits it out of the park with their gloss formula, I gotta say. I've also been loving the e.l.f. Lip Plumping Gloss, specifically in the shade Peach Bellini. I like the other shades that I have, but I love how milky this is. This is going to be more of like a personal preference because it's not going to be to everyone's taste, but I love putting this on when I want a lighter lip look or just something to like tone down whatever lip shade is on underneath this. And I really have been loving this. It's not super intensely plumping, but the effect is definitely there. What else do I have? I also have been loving the Sephora collection Plump Effect lip gloss, I think in the shade Outrageous. I think this is just clear, but so I don't know why I'm really swatching this, but I think again this is just a really nice like plumping lip gloss. Yeah, it's just a clear gloss, but if you're looking for, again, like a not super expensive plumping lip gloss, I think that this is a good option. And then finally, this is again a more recent discovery, but the Maybelline Lifter Gloss. I have the shade Ice, which is a basically clear pink. I think that this is a really nice drugstore gloss. I definitely don't think that it's a dupe formula-wise for the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb. I don't know if that was like a shade thing, but formula-wise, I don't think so. But it is like a really nice gloss formula. And I have been reaching for this a lot since I got it. And then to round the video out, I'm going to talk about some eyeshadow products. Now, I will do a separate eyeshadow palette video, so I'm not going to go like super in-depth or anything or do anything ranking, just kind of like going over the products that I really have loved in no particular order. Let's start with palettes, I guess. The Colored Rain Rebellious Nudes palette, and honestly, Colored Rain's reformulation has been such a beautiful discovery for me this year. I mean, this is this is the only neutral palette that I could ever want. I love the mustards, I love the depth. These shimmers at the top are absolutely divine. I love Colored Rain's formula, and this formula that's a little bit updated is so beautiful, and I absolutely love it. The ColourPop or Kid You Not palette, specifically the shade Nuh-Uh, is such a beautiful deep purple. I've been reaching for this palette honestly just for that shade so much this year. So I guess the ColourPop or Kid You Not palette, but specifically the deep purple shade, has been a huge favorite for 2022. ColourPop High Tide, again, I just really fell in love with this palette. I don't know really what it is. I've kind of really developed a love affair with teal this year as well, but I just love the range of depths in here, mostly the mattes, and I love it a lot. ColourPop Limoncello has been another neutral palette that I've really enjoyed using. Just easy to use, nothing super crazy exciting or like unique or new, but just been like a really pleasant palette. And I just love the packaging as well. It reminds me of going to Italy this year, and I have to include it because it definitely has been a favorite this year for sure. Not a new try, but I found myself reaching for the Melt Smoke Sessions palette a ton, specifically these two deeper matte shades. I've been using them, oh my god, I've been talking for too long. Specifically the shade Sour Diesel. Anytime I do like a kind of grungy green look, I reach for that shade to deepen it up. And I really got a ton of use out of this palette, so this is definitely a 2022 favorite. Same with the Melt Mary Jane palette. I've been reaching for, again, the mattes a ton. If I have like a neutral shimmer that I want to use all over my lid, I will almost without fail reach for this palette. I think it's just such beautiful true neutral mattes, and I love Melt's formula, so this has been just beautiful to use. I have been reaching for it a ton this year. I believe, yes, I got this for Christmas last year. So the Pat McGrath Utopian Dream. I totally forgot the name of that palette. Has been divine to use this year. I love Pat McGrath's eyeshadow formula. This is no exception. I've had so much fun playing with it, and I cannot wait to play with it more. I even have used these shades of blushes, which I pretty much never do with eyeshadows, but it's just divine. And I covet this, and I treasure this, and I adore it so much. Another palette I've had so much fun playing with this year was the Hello palette from Odin's Eye and Angelica Nyquist. Specifically these two rows at the bottom. I love the shade Soot. Is one of my new favorite shades in my collection. It's a really fun palette, and I've had a ton of fun playing with it, and it definitely has been a favorite this year. The Beauty Bay New Mood palette kind of came out of nowhere for me, but I really fell in love with it. I think it's so fun, and I feel like it got shit on a little bit for, I don't know, I don't feel like it deserved the hate that it got. Like, I will admit it didn't look the best online, but once you get it in person, I think this palette is so fun. It's super inspiring to me. I feel like you can go so many different directions with it. I love the looks that I did with this, and I'm super excited to continue playing with it. I love Fenty Beauty. I love Beauty Bay's eyeshadow formula, as you know, and this is no exception. I also have been loving the Dark Fantasy palette, which is on my eyes today. But again, that's more of a recent purchase, so an honorable mention, but I don't want to give it like necessarily a full spot because I've only used it a handful of times, so. And then I feel like the top kind of discovery for me in 2022 in terms of eyeshadow was Blend Bunny. I fell head over heels in love with Blend Bunny this year. I purchased the Surge and the Dollhouse palette at the beginning of the year, and I just fell in love with their matte formula specifically. I feel like they've since really improved their shimmer formula with each palette release. The Primal palette, I still haven't done a 3 looks 1 palette with this, but it's coming. I just love the tones in here. I think it is absolutely divine. And then the Blend Bunny All Done Up palette is just beautiful. It's so, so nice. This is going to become like my new favorite, like neutral adjacent palette. And the shimmer formula in this palette is absolutely beautiful. I feel like they finally gotten to a place with their shimmers where they're really, really nice, easy to work with, sparkly and gorgeous. And I'm so happy for them, because finally their matte and their shimmer formula kind of line up in terms of quality and, you know, my love for them. So I have seen them sneak peeking their new palettes. I'm so excited to see what they are. I will 100% be picking them up, and I could not be happier that I discovered Blend Bunny this year. And then two final eyeshadow products are two ColourPop Super Shock shadows that I just have been using a lot. The first is a little quirky. I've been using this a ton for more simple looks. I had a lot of job interviews this year, and putting like a neutral brown all over my lid with this tapped over it has just been like my go-to look, my go-to quick and easy neutral look of the year. And Ritz is also a classic and a favorite. I think I like a little quirky a little bit more, but Ritz is also just a beautiful wet looking shimmer shadow. So definitely use these a ton this year, and I want to give them a shout out for sure. And that, my friends, concludes this 2022 favorites video. Please let me know if you've tried any of these products, if you love them, or what your 2022 favorites were, because I always want to know what you guys love and if there's anything that I should have a little look at. I have been talking forever, so I'm going to leave you now because I don't want to talk anymore. And I just want to thank you for watching this video. Thank you for being here all of the last year. It honestly means so much to me. It's such a great outlet to have this channel, and I love interacting with everyone on here so incredibly much. And I would love to see you in my next video. Bye!